For March the 13th, 2015, we talk about Hotline Miami 2, the changes they made to DmC Remastered Edition, and we ask you which games need to be played all the way to the end. Welcome to the 97th level. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Jala Prendes.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Jala, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad I could finally be here.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's always good to have you back. So David couldn't join us, but Jala was able to sub in. Guys, I went to a dead mall this weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Zombies?
No, it wasn't.
Which one in Cincinnati?
It was the Cincinnati Mills.
Is that the one that has Arcade Legacy in it?
Oh, yeah. Did you go to Arcade Legacy?
Yes, I did.
That place is phenomenal.
I wasn't that impressed. I don't want to talk shit about a local business, but kids ruin it. Kids in the used games. If it was just the arcade machines, I would be cool. But I don't know. I think that I'm happy with the number of like barcades that are coming to Cincinnati because it means that they're for adults, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't gone to a single one of them, and I deeply regret that, and we need to fix that.
Yes, go ahead.
Have you guys been to the pinball place downtown yet?
No,
I want to so bad.
Yeah. Let's.
You need to get on that. I've been there.
You sent me the info and email. Let's try and figure this out. I had two motives in going three motives in going to that mall to check out or to go to Arcade Legacy with my brother and my niece who were in town and play some games. Which was fun. I wanted to scope that out to check out if it'd be good for meetups. It is not. It is so that is bad simply by virtue of alcohol, lack of alcohol, and the kids.
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your meetup.
I suppose, like a
to
kid,
be in a terrifying location, but yeah, it's good.
So the third reason was to go to a mall that is probably the size of at least a zip code that has four functioning businesses in it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's insane.
Yeah, and
sorry.
We walked every hall.
Nice.
So that became the main attraction. Go ahead, Jala.
Well, I was going to say that there is a mall actually fairly close to where I am presently that was so dead that it was taken over by an antique center. And so there's like a gigantic antique center in there now, which is why I actually go to the mall.
Oh.
So,
like, is it all hallways and stuff? Is it just the old shit everywhere?
yeah, it's just a gigantic warehouse thing with little partitions with tons and tons of different antique stores in it. It's a gigantic place. So
yeah. What's funny about this Cincinnati Mills Mall, and this isn't Mallcast, I just wanted to open up with an anecdote, is that like the area around it is thriving. Like anything that is in the mall's parking lot is doing great. There's a Bass Pro Shop that we went into it because, irony. And it's actually sealed off at the back. You can look into the mall, but you can't actually walk. You have to leave that store to go around into the mall.
Oh, that's funny.
awesome.
Yeah.
I also went to an arcade recently too, and it was also in an interesting location because it was off of a road that's just kind of in the middle of a lower income section, but the games themselves, they had a bunch of really old games. So there was stuff like Road Blasters and Street Fighter 2 and the little wrestling arm wrestling game, and of course skee ball and stuff like that. So I was having quite a lot of fun because all the prices on those games, because they're so old, it's just like one token for everything. So they had, The Simpsons and X-Men and all the other stuff that I used to play. Yeah, so they had a bunch of the old stuff. And, for the same prices that they used to be at. So, and although there were children there, they were not irritating. So that was actually kind of awesome. So
yeah. Something that's disappointing when you see like The Simpsons, Aliens versus Predator, and the X-Men game all lined up. You think, man, I love all these games. And you go to play one and you get pretty far into it. Then you go to play the second one and like, oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Womp.
The monsters have changed colors.
Yeah, I am sad though because they didn't have the Turtles beat 'em up because of the skins they put on beat 'em up arcade game. That's probably one of my favorites, along with the D&D game, of course.
Yeah.
So
yeah, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
How about anybody else? Any other cool stuff happening?
No.
Rebuked. Moving on.
I have a cool stuff happening, but it's not at all related to games or anything.
Okay.
But so the CrossFit Open is going on right now, which is kind of like the Olympics for CrossFit, but anyone can compete. And they're, the workouts are just numbers. So there's 5 workouts each year. So it's the year point 1, point 2, point 3. And this year, for fun, they made 15.2 a repeat of 14.2. And coincidentally, I had done 14.1 a couple weeks earlier, and I have beaten both my 14.1 score from last year and my 14.2 score from last year this year, which is of note because last year was before I had a stroke, and this year was after I had a stroke. And
That's
so
awesome.
It is kind of the official declaration of I am back, and that feels really, really good. So
yeah, this
Awesome.
this is going to sound dismissive, but I mean it when I say it. Good for you.
yay! Yeah, no, I'm beyond thrilled, and I'm tempted to go back and do the rest of the workouts from last year, but that's stupid and insane because I have the rest of the workouts from this year to worry about. So maybe eventually I will get to the rest of the workouts from last year, but right now I'm keeping my head above water, and I'm ranking higher in the Open to date than I have at any other point, which is again it blows my mind considering what has happened in the year since I last competed. So
Congratulations.
that is a
That's
significant
awesome.
good thing. Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. See, for me, because I just recently had a surgery, I'm moving. After I'm done with all of that, then I'll be getting back into my fitness stuff, and then I'll have a story similar to Dennis, hopefully, later on this year. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think everybody has a sense for what our lives are like outside of this podcast.
We will talk about video games eventually. We're not in a hurry to get to it, but we will eventually.
Hey, sometimes we just like to take a pause for flavor, Yeah. So
Dead malls and fitness.
yeah. Yeah. It sounded like you did like a little fist bump. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just a tiny little fist bump of satisfaction.
If it was a 90s movie, the frame would have frozen at the end. The credits would start rolling.
Yep, really
Exactly.
fast. Wow. But what do we have in store for you this week in terms of actual, video game content? The huge, the brief, the multiplayer, and the grind. I've got some cool stuff. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So let's get cracking. It is time for the brief, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games. Jala, as our guest here today, I want to throw it to you.
That's fine, because I'm kind of excited. I actually have a local-ish story, at least in my state, so I can be like Kole and talk about something local. All right, so there are film groups in Texas that are currently lobbying for state funding to be split off from being films, TV, and games to films and TV and then games in its own separate section. I put the link in there for you. And that's because the filmmaking and game making industries have drastically different production schedules and business models. And currently, I don't know if you guys or anybody else listening knows this, but game devs in Texas have, there's more than 180 game companies in Texas, and it's second in the nation in terms of game development jobs.
Oh, wow.
So actually, it's kind of a big deal in Texas to have all these different random, developers and whatnot. And Texas government has given over $16 million in grants to game devs, and about almost $96 million in projects has been spent on this in the last 2 years. So the people who are lobbying to do this split are doing that because they're worried that the games are taking away too much from the film industries. And the opposition is saying that the split would generate more reason for budget cuts. So they're kind of debating over it right now, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the legislation, because that may, depending upon how things fall, offer more incentive to game developers to come to Texas. And this is another aside. This is a personal story. I have not mentioned this, I don't think. Maybe I have. once upon a time, a couple of years ago, I was actually working with an indie developer to work on their art assets and their world creation for a game they were working on. But as with many indie companies, although I was really, basically their creative lead, when one guy goes, the thing will crumble. Right. And that's pretty much what happened in that case. So that game was in alpha. I still have a copy of it on my computer, but it didn't actually reach full development. But so yeah, even I have had something to do with this in some way, shape, or form in Texas. So there you go. Yeah. Something neat.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm happy that they're splitting off because they are so different, and like that would just better serve the I think everybody involved, especially like young professionals and upstarts looking for support. Mm-hmm. Right?
Jala, do you know if this is, and I'm not sure any other states have even had to think about it on this level, but do you know if this is Texas playing catch up with other states, or if this is Texas kind of paving the way for a new model?
I don't really know offhand what the other states and their legislature are for it, but this is just, from what I know of the law in Texas anyway, and the way the grants work is just the fact that this is to promote the development happening in Texas, and in order to get the grant, you have to, be employed and do XYZ amount of the work in Texas itself in order to get the grant. Right. So it's just to promote the businesses moving to Texas and working in Texas to, just get that industry going. And I do know that Austin is a really big place where a lot of the game devs are. So that's actually why I was interested in how PAX South was in San Antonio when a lot of the game devs that I know about anyway are in Austin. So there was some talk around the convention about it possibly moving over to Austin at some point. I think San Antonio and where they had it was a good location, but there's more companies in Austin. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That way it's like a vacation for everybody in Austin.
Right? They're like, oh, I don't have to go, to work today. I can go to work somewhere else anyway. Go see the Riverwalk or something.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, so this is something that Canada has on lock, and that's why so many huge developers are kind of based there. I'm speaking specifically about Ubisoft and like BioWare. It's just a huge draw to put those incentives in. So I think that that's good. Like here stateside, I know that like Massachusetts has done a little bit. I've read about some initiatives happening in like North Carolina, just as part of the kind of like the Raleigh Durham kind of weird southeastern tech bubble kind of thing, or tech boom. But outside of like what happened in Rhode Island with what's a who's it generic name fantasy game.
Amalur.
What's that?
Kingdoms of Amalur.
Yeah, Kingdoms of Amalur. The Kurt Schilling debacle, where they got like explicit government money in order to post up there and lost it. This is relatively new. It would make sense for it to happen in Texas.
Well, I just wanted to post something nice and happy about Texas for once because let's just say that Duckfeed wide, there's a lot of shit talking about Texas that goes on, and Jala, the one who is in Texas, is like, okay, come on, it's not that bad, seriously.
I don't sorry, it's hard for me to contain my hate for Texas. I'll try to post less.
Apparently, I don't know. There's some shit talking.
Wait. Okay, so as the person here, I don't know. I think that we call it Florida more often, but.
Oh, yeah, there's that too. I also lived in Florida. and you want to diss anywhere else I've lived? So.
Oh, cool.
I'm just ribbing you a little bit. I'm fine.
I mean, just in general, the American South.
Yeah.
Yeah. Says a person who lives right across the river from Kentucky.
Hey, that cross the river is a big difference.
Yes, this is true. Or so we like to say.
Yeah. It's a big difference to someone who is in Cincinnati versus Covington. To everyone else, it's the exact same.
Right. Yeah, we might as well just be Indiana. Which is worse, I think. Yeah, sorry, anybody who lives in Indiana. Oh, man. I think the lesson here is don't make broad, sweeping generalizations about geography.
Or rice.
Unless
I
you're
was like,
Or rice gate. Go ahead, Ben.
I always like stories that comics will tell about how every place has like a rival. Where like if you go to Northern Ohio, they think Michigan's terrible. If you go to Michigan, they think Ohio's terrible. If you go to Kentucky, they think Tennessee's terrible. You know, like everybody has that opinion. You know, wherever they are.
Everybody's shitting. Coming from yes, everybody is shitting.
Everybody poops, Cole.
Yeah.
actually correct.
Coming from north central Ohio, as I do, it is a common pejorative to like lay upon an entire town to say the first syllable of the town's name and then add the suffix "tucky" to the end of it.
Yeah.
So people would call Mansfield, my hometown, or the city near my hometown, Mantucky, which
Sounds
is pretty...
like a serial killer. But go ahead.
Mantucky. But yeah, that is definitely. I don't know that anybody talks down about Kentucky more than people from Ohio.
Well, Mantucky to me sounds like it might even be just like plastic surgery for men.
It sounds like a horrible sex act, is what it sounds like.
Right?
Oh, I've got a story.
Go.
Yeah, so I've talked some sugar about this war of mine in the past, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that wasn't all some kind of crazy dream that I had. But they just came out here recently, within the past couple of days, with some special DLC to add some art to the background, some street art from the region whereabouts the game takes place. And what's cool about this is the DLC is entirely to support the War Child charity.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So they're doing kind of like a 3-tiered system. No matter what you pay, no matter which of the tiers you pay, you get the same DLC. But it's 99 cents, $9.99, and $19.99, and it's just a way for them to get people to think about giving more money to this charity.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think that is a novel new use for DLC.
Yes, it is. That's an awesome use of it for sure.
I mean, for a game that already is a kind of activism or awareness raising, it's a perfect fit.
Do you know anything about what the DLC contains? Is it just background art?
Yep.
Sorry, I said that sounded like a dismissal, but it's totally not.
Yeah. It's horse armor. It's meant to raise money for 4-H clubs across the country. No, but yeah, it's just extra art and stuff that artists have done in order to create something to do this donation drive for. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, I don't know that there's. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you're talking about games doing something good by adding something. My story is about games doing something good by taking something away. Which is the Devil May Cry, the reboot. Has a re-release of a reboot on next-gen systems, and they didn't make a big deal out of it, but they subtly changed one of the lines in the game that was particularly uncomfortable from a misogyny or sexism perspective. They just noted that there's a line where basically one of the characters refers to herself as a bitch in a very submissive and uncomfortable way. And they changed that line to make it much more what's the word I'm looking for? Modern, or much more
to make it less gross.
Yeah,
less gross. There you go. Gross as an adjective is overused, I think.
Yeah, to make it more sensitive. Like
it's fun. Yeah, more sensitive. There you go. Yeah. But anyway, I was surprised to see such a whatever the opposite of tone deaf is, move coming from Devil May Cry, which in the past has really traded on edginess. Just objectively looking at something that had already been published, no one would have called them out if it stayed exactly the same. Looking at it and going, yeah, we don't think that's good, and pulling it out. So, like I said, they didn't make a big deal out of it. It's a small change, but at the same time, I think it makes the game objectively better. And it kind of marks for me the first time that I've seen a developer go back to a work that they've already had out and say, hey, maybe there's a way we can make this more sensitive or make this better. and actually take that action. So that's cool.
Yeah, like a straight up like, hey guys, are bad kind of thing.
Yeah. But again, they didn't make some big PR release about it. They just kind of did it. Mm-hmm. And I think I talked about when I'd actually played the original game, and I know opinions of current hosts on this show right now vary widely on the quality of that game. But I was actually a little surprised at how not sleazy they were, for lack of a better term. Like, you know, the series trades on edginess, and the reboot really kind of didn't move away from that, but gave Dante, made him cool in a way that wasn't the 90s piss everyone off, I hate my dad and women too kind of cool as 90s defined it. So it's good to see them continuing to move in that direction.
Yeah. Admittedly, I only read headlines around this. I thought that the changes were going to be more pervasive around that. Like the way that this was kind of played up was, like, oh, this was a sweep to kind of tone down the sexually explicit nature of some of the dialogue. But if it's one line, I can't see any real complaint. Like, this is entirely a good thing, because there might be an argument for, however, and again, sorry to overuse this word, for however gross this is, that, this could be seen as like a diminished version of the game, and to call it remastered or something like that kind of implies definitive. So if somebody just, really likes that for some reason, I'm kind of taking a position that I'm not sure exists, and, one that I'm not, I can't very, with any kind of like lack of disingenuity claim to take. I could see that being like, well, you just kind of like own it and preserve it and carry it forward. But this is a good thing. And reading the dialogue right now, that is a good thing.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why we're trying to like. I'm not intentionally keeping that. So the original line is, "The world is at last your bitch, as am I," which again is just it's a throwaway to. I don't know why that is in there. It doesn't really add anything. And so they just changed it finally to what did they change it to?
The world is at last your bitch.
Yeah, the world is at last your bitch. Which fine, whatever. But it gets rid of some of the blatantly.
Yeah, there's some uncomfortable stuff after the as am I too. That I don't want this to be a forum for that.
Sure.
For some of the, like, let's just say upsetting themes that we sometimes explore on this show.
Sure.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, this isn't it is a flavor of whitewashing, but whatever. It doesn't take away the point, I don't think.
Yeah, the last time we saw a developer do something like this, it was Mass Effect 3 re-releasing their ending. Mm-hmm. So I would categorize this as a much better form of that, at least.
When you say that we have wildly diverging opinions on the quality of this game, are you? So I haven't played this. Who else here?
Jala, I think, hates it, right?
It's not that I hate the actual gameplay. I think the gameplay is just fine. It looks nice and whatnot, but I can't stand it. Like just the scripting and the whatnot. I want to stab people, and even just listening to the line, I want to stab people. Like, it just makes me incredibly angry and violent immediately, in a way that few things set me off. I usually, when it's some kind of fiction, I don't really get that emotionally invested in the characters to where I just get really pissed off at them immediately. But with this particular game, yeah, I do. Like, I tried to go back and play it recently, and I had the same effect. I turned it on, I watched a cutscene, and I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Did you have any particular affinity for the original Devil May Cry series?
Interestingly, I didn't have a problem with the original. I was fine with that.
But you didn't like absolutely love it?
No, I didn't have anything particularly one way or the other about it. So that's why I was like, oh, reboot. Huh. People say this is pretty good. And I hear about how it plays. It sounds interesting. And it looks like it plays really wonderfully. I just don't know. Like, I need to be in a very, very extremely mellow state of mind, extremely sedated or sleepy or something to play it, apparently. So I don't know. Eventually I would like to play it because I really am interested in the mechanics, but we'll see.
Yeah. To close it all out, I mean, this says to me that the developers are becoming more conscious of that sort of thing and the implications of what they put into games and the audiences that they're serving, and to an extent that they would actually go back and slightly revise something that's already out, and that is a very positive thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, also making a change to something that people kind of like called them on, that's just good business too.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
Good.
The irony for me is that as much as I hate it, it's kind of like, and do you think that's going to make what kind of difference exactly? I mean, kind of, as was already said, just go ahead and own it. You did it, leave it alone. Going forward, don't do it again. Bad dev,
Sure.
Yeah. Ben, how about you? You got a story?
About a story? Yeah. All right. So I'm dropping in the robot. So the article is apparently the new Batman game will be rated mature. And the second sentence of the article says, spoiler warning. And the third one says, the rest of the story discusses details from the upcoming game, so I haven't read past that. So that's all I got with that story.
Yep.
Awesome.
I think we've known that it's going to be rated M for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I did read the article, like at least until I got to something that felt. How dare you, Cole? Yeah. It's because of blood.
It's what?
It's like the M rating is because of blood. I'm not going to talk about the exact thing that they bring up.
Yeah.
For why like I'm not going to talk about the circumstances of the blood, but yes, the presence of blood in a story relevant capacity is what pushed it over the edge.
So okay, but I mean there is blood in the first two games though.
I think that you're underestimating just how much blood we're talking about.
I was going to say, what is this kung fu movie type blood? Squirting gallons out endlessly.
Yeah, so start at The Shining, the elevator, and move up from there. From The Shining.
It says that when they kill Batman at the end of the game. Oh, sorry, was that a spoiler?
There's a setting on Batman's detective vision that will show you all of the blood inside of people's bodies. Which, I mean, it's just blood going around doing its job. There's no reason we need to demonize it, Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm excited about this game in a very real and serious way. I'm even considering playing a little bit of Arkham Origins to tide me over, but I may end up playing just Arkham City again in order to play a better game that will get me more excited.
Yep, you should do that.
Yeah. But I have Arkham Origins; it's right there.
Yeah, you're good without it.
Yeah. It's not a matter of the money, Cole. It's a matter of the time. That is spilt milk.
Yeah, Ben, you would say that is a game where it is okay not to finish it.
Yeah, Arkham Origins, yeah.
I see what you're doing, Dennis, and though I appreciate it, I don't like it.
What are you doing?
No, he's trying to force the segue.
I'm foreshadowing.
Oh, well, why don't we get right to it then, since you're so eager to move on?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, okay. I'm not even gonna. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That's good.
You sound like me.
Multiplayer.
It is now time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it so kindly. Dennis, what's the question that we asked the nice people?
We asked about games that you should finish. So, everyone starts more games than they finish, and a lot of times it's no great loss that you don't see the ending of a game. Because you can kind of get the essence of a game without finishing the story mode or the main campaign or whatever you want to call it. But what we wanted to hear was what are some games that should definitely be played all the way through? Just endings that are so strong that they should not be missed.
Yeah. I got one email that I'm going to read here. This is from Graham Markison. If you want to, submit a response that way, that is at Duckfeed.tv/contact. There's a little dingus that you click for the level, and those go through in there. Just allude to it, to the multiplayer response in the subject line. So Graham says, the end of Earthbound is my favorite video game ending. Well worth pushing through some of the game's unsavory elements. Starting from the cave of the past and going onward, it's an almost pitch-perfect roller coaster ride that's unsettling then horrifying, then beautiful. So much creativity was packed in Earthbound's final chapter, which is a good reminder why the game is so highly regarded and why it is my favorite game. Has anybody else here beaten Earthbound aside from me?
I have not. I've listened to the WAF, and I actually considered using a screenshot from Earthbound as the photo for this week's question. Yeah. I defaulted something that I had played, but that was on my mind.
Yeah, the one you chose was Spec Ops, and that works really well, too. Yeah. So let's see here. Jala, what does David say?
David says, Final Fantasy Tactics. The good guys don't get credit for anything, and bullshit politics never go away, just replaced by figurative monsters instead of literal ones.
It's like The Wire for video games.
Kinda? Yeah, like Final Fantasy Tactics is dope like that. Anything that director makes, and his name is escaping me right now, but from Vagrant Story to Final Fantasy 12, the fact that your protagonist is kind of like living on the edge of history while kind of, pompous douches get all the credit is a recurring theme, and one that is really refreshing in a genre that is mostly the plucky young upstarts save the world. You're still plucky young upstarts saving the world, but you're not getting credit for it, so it's a little bit more complicated than that.
I got like half a level and like half of the tutorial level into that game, and then I can't really remember why I petered out on it. Is that worth me going back to?
Tactics?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really good. There's a certain point after which the game kind of finds its level, and you can proceed. Like the momentum of both the narrative and your kind of like party improvements will draw you forward. I think that as such a fan of XCOM, it's going to be a little bit of a double-edged sword because you're used to some of the mod cons that XCOM affords you. This is definitely a game that came out 15 years before XCOM did. But I think that there is enough there that you're going to kind of appreciate.
Okay.
Some
I will
of
keep
the
that in
roots of
mind.
this thing that you like.
Cool.
Also, the system that you play it on matters as well.
I tried it on Vita.
Okay. Yeah. That possibly would be a little bit of a problem. The iPhone port is really good.
Okay.
Yeah. Neat. Ben, what's Timothy say?
Timothy says Silent Hill 2 has to be the big one for me. Playing that with my friends when it first came out, I felt so disgusted when you found out what James had actually done. Who knows what he did? I was mad at the game for making me control such a scum of a protagonist. So powerful even to this day.
Good choice.
You okay, Ben?
There's no spoilers.
Okay.
Who knows? It's ambiguous.
Yeah, it is. Like
Anything could have happened.
It's a locked room mystery. Yeah, it's funny because so often alluding to the fact that there is a turn spoils the fact that there's a turn.
Yeah.
And if you look at the influences on Silent Hill 2, it's pretty easy to see a little bit of what they're kind of like juking towards, and that is perfectly fine. But I've never seen a consistent interpretation of how that shakes out and like what that says about him. I'm much more sympathetic for James than Timothy is, but I can see where somebody's coming from too.
Well, just the fact that everybody's divided about it in any way, shape, or form is kind of speaks to it being, memorable or whatever.
Agreed.
Something that you definitely need to see one way or the other. So I think that's a definite good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was successfully blindsided by the turn at the end of this. And while the ending boss fight felt a little weird, just the overall arc of the story was incredibly satisfying.
Yeah. Definitely love that game. Let's see here, Dennis. What does Alan say?
Alan says the ending or endings of Indigo Prophecy, while they're not strong, they deserve to be seen. And I'll read. Franz Van Bellen replies that this was the first game that he thought of too when he saw the question. So, Indigo Prophecy, 2 votes.
Yeah. It's worth continuing through Indigo Prophecy to the end just to see how they waste that potential. And also, just thinking about, okay, the me from 10 hours ago would not have ever seen it going in this direction. Like there's enough crazy stuff that that is rolled out both gradually and abruptly that it simultaneously like lulls you into a sense of security and just blindsides you over and over again. Yeah. Has anybody else played that besides me? Ben, how about you?
I have not. I only played Heavy Rain.
Okay.
Yeah, me neither.
Nope.
Yeah, it's listen to the WAF episode if you're looking for an audio let's play of that, where we whenever anything is what the fuck worthy, we vehemently what the fuck about it.
Yeah.
Let's see here, Dennis. You already read yours, so I'll read Allison's. Allison Baker writes in, I always thought Assassin's Creed 2 had a pretty strong finish. It throws so much bonkers story stuff at you from out of left field that the game fades to black with the protagonist saying exactly what the player was thinking at that moment. What the fuck?
Is that I think that's the way Assassin's Creed 1 ends too.
With a what the fuck?
Like, with literally a what the fuck.
It could be a running theme. Yeah.
Assassin's Creed 3 ends with "fuck that." So, a little bit different.
Is that how a line that I've heard before, which is that any given Elder Scrolls game ends with you saying, "Okay, I'm done with this." Like that is the canonical ending of an Elder Scrolls game.
And it's not even the ending of the storyline. It's just 80 hours into the game.
Yeah, just like eventually you settle down and become an alchemist.
Well, more or less, I don't think I've ever followed the actual main story quest in any Elder Scroll game for any real length of time. I just I like to do whatever I want, so I just kind of wander off in a direction and do something.
Yeah.
So I've never officially finished one, although I played countless hours of it.
Yeah. Definitely. So Assassin's Creed 2, to change back to that real quick, I'm worried that with how the series has gone in the past 4 years, that people are going to forget how good Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood were. Like,
good games.
Those are such good games.
Which was the first one that had multiplayer?
Brotherhood.
Okay, so freaking good.
Yeah. I just worry about that. That like these genuinely good, and maybe I should revisit it in order to make sure that opinion is still, valid. But yeah, like it does hold up, and I'm afraid that it's just tarnished.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, it is. That is an observation, Kole. Jala, what does Brandon say? Go ahead and hit both of those.
I will. Brandon says, I think Far Cry 4 is worth finishing. You gain a lot of insight into your allies and the main villain. It does a decent job throwing shades of gray onto all the characters' motivations. And if you really want, you can beat it in about 20 minutes.
Is this Mist?
Yeah, right? No,
it says right there, Far Cry 4. I'm
Far
sorry,
Cry
guys.
4. Yeah, I like Far Cry, or I like, I haven't played Far Cry, but I like Myst, and I was thinking about Myst as actually being a possible answer to this. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ben, what does Franz say?
Franz says, Alpha Protocol. I'm a total pacifist and abhor the use of violence, but slamming somebody's face into the desk is one of the most gratifying moments ever.
Yep, somebody really deserved what was coming to him. Oh man, that is a really good game.
I was gonna say, yeah, you should play that just because it's a good game all the way through.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's one of those things. So I think that Alpha Protocol's main story is kind of like not that groundbreaking, but there's enough, I think, incident in it. There's enough that kind of like happens and is unique, from different boss fights or different characters or interactions that like if you are like me when I first played the game and you kind of bounce off of the Saudi Arabia mission, mm-hmm. Or whatever, the Middle East mission, unnamed Middle Eastern country, you're going to miss out on an awful lot. So this is, kind of a dual topic, like which ending bears out the best, but also like what is it worth kind of slogging through in order to see like the real thing that lies beyond your first impression.
They just know how to nail role playing. Like they put you in a position where you can have fun, no matter what type of character you're playing.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's the best dialogue system I've seen, I think.
Bond, Bauer, and Bourne, right?
I believe that's what I've heard. Yeah.
They all have the same initials. Isn't that weird?
That's the 3 Bs.
But it's JBs, no less, though.
Oh, right? That's true, yeah.
Shit.
The 3... I'm just picturing Dennis like just doing a Hitchcock push-pull where like it zooms in on you, but the background gets further away as your whole world comes crashing down.
I didn't know it was that good. Yeah. It's funny because I think the original, this game was kind of the underdog, right? It got panned a little bit by critics, and then everyone's like, no, wait, this is actually really good. You were looking at it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But I've got to hurry up and play this game because it's in that sweet spot now where people have really talked it up. And I feel like if you hear too much more about it in the good, it'll get to the level of hype where it won't be able to live up to its own hype. So I need to get my hands on this game, apparently.
It is a manageable length. It is like a 12 to 14 hour game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would heartily recommend it.
Cool.
Yeah. Let us see here. Dennis, what does Sean say?
Sean says, I think any games that give an epilogue of what the world is like now because of your decisions are ones you must finish, with my biggest examples being the Fallout games and pretty much any BioWare game.
Yeah. Not Lords of the Fallen, though.
Oh, does that give an epilogue?
Yes, it does, and it is.
Do you have
it is.
any influence over the differences?
Most of them you do, but there's no real personal touch along with that. Listen to our the Bonfireside Chat interim season about Lords of the Fallen. But there is one that no matter what you do, you get the same result because it's bugged. So, oh well.
Oops.
Wow.
I do think the thing that video games trade on is choice. Like that's the interactivity is the one thing that most distinguishes it from other mediums. So it is nice to see games that really reward that.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to jump in, not to contradict Sean, but I kind of hate it when games are doing this only to decisions that you are forced to make at some point in the game. Where it's basically just a review of what your choices were, which you already knew what they were. Like I think it's much more rewarding if they have like an ending where you went down some sort of side corridor and like completed some sort of auxiliary task in order to unlock more content. Like I think that's more rewarding. But I was really turned off by like the ending of Fallout 3, for example, where it's just like, here's all the choices you made.
It's a slideshow, right? It feels less integrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Dragon Age Origins did a better job of it, where it was less about. I mean, I'm sure there were binary choices that you made throughout that influenced it, and some of them were tied directly to big decisions, but other ones felt a little more natural, a little less, A or B.
Yeah. And to take this back to Alpha Protocol and talk a little bit more sugar, like the way that handles the ending, the entire last chapter. And this isn't a surprise because the entire game has been about these Deus Ex kind of choices the entire time. The entire last chapter can change drastically depending on what you've done in the ones before it.
Yeah, who you're fighting against and who you're fighting with is completely dependent upon how you played the game.
Yeah.
I've always wondered what that would be like as a game convention. That if you created kind of a sandbox. Think like Fallout 3, where there are different cities and factions, and you set the general environment or the world. And then you write the story with your team up to a certain point where there's a key decision. And then you hand decision A to one team of writers and decision B to another team of writers, and have them work completely independently to evolve the plot from there. And then you have a couple of those branching places, but that the story could be that the final level is back in the beginning area or off in the corner of the map, or you could be fighting faction A or faction B, and just seeing how wildly the game's story could diverge if you truly left the plot up to different teams.
See, what's funny about that is you just created a situation that is the least economical way to accomplish that.
Well, that sounds really cool, though.
Yeah.
Like just have it be like the final hour of the game. That could be really cool.
Yeah, I feel like most of these decisions are made in order to make as few assets as possible.
Yeah.
Well, see, but it would all be in the same world. Again, you kind of establish the world. It's just who. Well, yeah, maybe it would take more assets, but who the true big bad at the end is could be one faction or another. Those factions will exist regardless, but you probably have to record zillions of hours of dialogue depending on all the different stuff.
You're sounding like such a client right now.
Probably.
I can't be that big of a deal, right? Like, just. Oh, sorry.
Very good. Yeah. So, but I like games that reward you and at least try to show that there was true, lasting, meaningful differences that came from your choices.
In reality, what you're probably looking for is New Vegas.
I think this is the third game now that it's adding to my list from this podcast alone that I need to play.
Yeah, am I right, Ben? Like, is that a little bit?
It's another Obsidian game, so yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Huh. Yeah, that was a good response.
Mm-hmm.
Let us see here. It is my turn, and I'm going to read Mikhail's here. Portal, for sure. Even better if you did it before the cake jokes went viral. Also, Braid. Even if the emotional payoff is kind of hackneyed, the ending almost helps narratively resolve one of its core mechanics, time manipulation. And I don't know if this happens in a lot of games, if ever.
Yeah, true.
The ending of Braid, I kind of wish that there was more in the actual body of the text that like led to that. Like good.
I define the ending of the game as catching the princess, and I think that is the end of the game.
Okay. So none of the epilogue stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that happens after you've played the game the first time, I think.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think I've seen the epilogue stuff then.
It's goofy. It's really goofy, and it confuses. It brings confusion instead of clarity, I think. Yeah, I would agree with Ben there as well. Like the entire last chapter, I wish that there was more that led up to it, because like the text that you read on the books on the pedestals, prior to each stage, it just kind of feels a little bit too out there, as opposed to, hey, asshole with the motorcycle. Sorry, I don't know if that picked up. It was really distracting.
I didn't get that from Braid at all.
Yeah. Hey, asshole.
Jonathan Blow doesn't ride a motorcycle. What are you talking about?
Sorry.
It was Dante.
I will take this back in. Damn you! Censor me, will ya? Yes, that's my Dante voice. No, for as like resonant as that final act was for me, I wish that there was stuff that led up to it. But as a turn, it was it was good, I think. Oh well. Jala, what does Christopher say?
He says, Planescape, Torment, Gone Home, The Longest Journey, and Valiant Hearts, The Great War come to mind, all of which I thought were nothing short of amazing in the story department and need to be experienced all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Good choices.
I really need to play Valiant Hearts, you guys.
You have it for free, I think.
I do. I also bought it on Steam a while ago, so I have I have it twice. Yeah.
That just means does it have 2 entries into your backlog now?
It's complicated. It's complicated. No system is adequate enough to capture
it's
the
still
nuances.
one postcard, but it's a double-sized postcard.
Yes,
there you go.
It is a 5x7 instead of a 3.5x5. Yeah. Let's see, Ben. What does Matthew say?
Matthew says, in some of these little indie games like Limbo or Home, the atmosphere they work so hard to create doesn't resolve into an emotional impact until the end, even if those endings are open until interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you trade on atmosphere, you tend to sacrifice plot in order to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is often plot that we're talking about when we talk about, you actually have to see this through to the end, because that is resolution.
Mm-hmm.
This has been facts stated very plainly by Kole Ross.
Oh my, there's even more replies. I refreshed it.
Yeah. I have there just one more here on the list.
Two more.
Okay, cool. Well, while I get that in line here, Dennis, what does Earl say?
Earl calls out Valiant Hearts again, as well as The Last of Us and Red Dead Redemption. He says, those all come to mind when I think of great endings that have really stayed with me. But nothing beats the first time I played Metal Gear Solid and heard the conversation after the credits. I don't know what that is.
I don't... Okay, this is goofy. It is a 15-year-old game, and I don't want to spoil the after. Even though, like, everything in the series, it sets up everything that happens in the series afterwards. So I'm just being asinine here.
I think we talked a while ago about that. It is one of those things where there's just too much history. I feel like I can't enter it. And that is a series I've missed too much on.
Enter at Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah,
You're
play
fine.
3. You're good.
3 is good.
Okay, so that is the 18th game now from this podcast. That's my list.
There's just so much good stuff out there.
There's a lot of good stuff out there.
This is a heartening and encouraging thing that you can just,
if you have time.
Yes, well, you can spin in a circle and fall ass backwards into a game, and it's probably going to be kind of an okay use of your time.
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Depending upon the game.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, 18 games in one cast. Yeah. Neat. Yeah, that is good. So both Valiant Hearts and Red Dead are games that take place in non-standard video game settings, which I think speaks to the volumes. I'm on a Valiant Hearts kick. Like, I need to make time for this. It's an incredibly long game if you look at the How Long to Beat, specifically because of the hardcore history World War I series that they're in the middle of, and I want to get more of that because of all the great wars America has fought, that is the one I know the least about, aside from the War of 1812. And I would like to get a little bit more of that flavor.
Wait, you know more about the Spanish-American War than you do the War of 1812?
Yes, I do, because it was short and actually had a lot of varied theaters that you don't really think about. Like all the stuff over in the Philippines and the complicated relationship between Teddy Roosevelt and his gung-ho attitude towards war, and his very abrupt late life change in attitude after his son died in the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool that you can turn to a video game to fill that gap.
Yes, it is. And that is probably the only way that you could introduce World War I into a video game and have it be resonant.
Have you?
Sure.
All right. So, to tangent, have you heard the hardcore history on World War One? The 4 or 5 part series.
They're up to 5 parts now. I'm in the middle of it. I'm current on hardcore history.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you?
I listened to 1.5 of the parts.
Okay.
But it was really good.
Yeah. The way he approaches it is kind of a non-chronological kind of thing. Like I would encourage you to get up to where he's at right now, and then wait 7 months for him to come out with the next one.
Yeah, I can bide my time here.
Yeah,
I can keep pace.
That is a good show. Yeah, I'm going to round us out here with Carlo. I'm sorry, Carlo. I'm not going to try and pronounce your middle name, but Carlo Martinez. He says, Ys 7 is a J action RPG, Japanese action RPG goodness. It's unique in how straightforward it is. Made me a fan of the entire series. In that same vein, I'd recommend Shining Force and Ark the Lad.
Woohoo! He's now one of my favorite people. He recommended Shining
He
Force.
brought up Shining Force.
Yay!
Yeah. I've not played any of those.
Although I did buy Shining Force for you and add it to your backlog.
Yeah. Yeah, so that is, even though I have, okay, so this is a word to the wise for anybody who is listening. Steam gifts and stuff are very much appreciated. I'm happy for anybody who has done that for me. However, like, I am so sorry. It's like get them for other co-hosts who are not me, because I am a lost cause.
It was like
You're
99
adding a
cents.
gray hair to his head.
Yep.
I think Kole just told you to give me games.
Yeah, he did. Just now.
I guess what I'm saying is I have enough. You know, I don't need any more. If you have a suggestion you want to make, write in and say, hey, you should probably play X, Y, or Z. I appreciate the generosity of anybody who has done that. However, it is, it is a complicated situation.
Yeah, it blows my mind, and you guys, anyone who's done that is freaking awesome. You make my day.
Yeah.
Oh, but as a side note, I was fully aware of this when I gave it to you, but I figured perhaps, maybe, one day, on a rainy day, when you're sick and doing nothing.
60.
Yeah, for 60. You'll be like, maybe I'll play this for about 2 minutes. And then you will start it up and look at it, and then you will close it, and then that'll be the end of it.
I want to play it. Like Sega RPGs are not a thing that I have any real experience with. Like last week when we were talking about Landstalker,
I love that game. It's cute.
It looks really good. It looks kind of Breath of Fire-y.
It's fun.
Yeah. Let's see here. So, Jala, how about you? Which game are you like, you got to see it through to the end?
Well, okay, I've talked about it before, and it's one of those games I bring up with some regularity. Lunar 2, and there's 2 reasons for that.
Okay.
One, I've talked about it before, I believe, when I was saying that I beat the game, and then I was devastated because it kind of leaves you in this kind of sad and half-cocked, not quite finished way, and I was devastated for a week, and I was depressed, and then I was like, I'm going to go back and play it again. So I go and I beat the boss battle again. And then I go in there to go beat the boss battle again, rather. And then I go to the main menu and it says epilogue. And I'm like, what? And they had a whole, all the credits roll. Everything is done. It ends and it just sits on the ending menu. But then when you restart the game console, it comes up with the epilogue as a choice with several more hours of gameplay. And then there's a real ending. And then at the very end, if you wait past all the credits for a few minutes, then they have the outtakes from all of their recording sessions, which is completely hilarious. So there's various reasons why that was just completely awesome and why I absolutely love it.
That is some Return of the King, Guns of the Patriots level shit.
Yeah, so that one is probably the most memorable ending that has ever affected me because I was so upset that it ended the way it did, but then it didn't. Huh. So, also, I've also talked about this one, Contrast. That game it's not like a, oh my God, so shocking, kind of ending or anything, but it has a very nice resolution to it. And the ending makes the rest of the game make a little bit more sense with the interactions that go on throughout the game and actually adds some more flavor to the characters and levels of depth. But only when you get to that ending. Mm-hmm. And since it's such a short game, that's one that you can definitely play through in just a few hours. Yeah. Also, Walking Dead 2, because just the decisions that you have to make at the end. I mean, I definitely think that the ending of Walking Dead 2, I preferred to the one in Walking Dead 1. And the decision at the very end, I made the unpopular choice, and I have very strong feelings about the choice that I had made. So the fact that I was, against the grain in that particular decision was interesting, and yeah, that's definitely something that I think when you get to the end of it, it's more powerful than the first game. So
you just reminded me that I haven't played Chapter 5 of Season 2.
Oh, I know, because I had mentioned it once upon a time, and I'm like, if you guys actually do a bonus level, I want to do it too. And you're like, yeah, LOL, that's funny.
No, I would totally be down for it. I just it
we have to
came
wait
out at
a
a weird
couple
time.
years until it's not relevant, and then we'll do a podcast.
Oh man, you've got us down to you've got us down. RMO.
Well, I mean, I assume we're going to do an XCOM podcast pretty soon, so
Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's see here. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, so this one's going to be kind of a cop-out answer, but I think the game that best answers this question, from what I think the motivation behind the question is Spec Ops: The Line, because that's like the equivalent of funny games for video games, where, it's you play it through the end, but you're kind of only punishing yourself. Well, I don't know, whatever. That's one that you should play to the end, but it's not fun. But that's why you should play to the end. Mm-hmm. And then another one I would say is BioShock Infinite, just in case anyone was thinking about giving up on that game. Mm-hmm. That's definitely worth playing through to the end. So
Spec Ops, like, it's weird because depending on your disposition, you can probably like the turn happens in a different place, right? For different individual people. Well, like when the switch flips and you think, okay, yes, this actually is a different kind of thing that I thought I was walking into. It's like the closest like comparison I could think of in another like medium is like in Breaking Bad. Different people have different interpretations of when Walter White becomes irredeemable.
Yeah.
And like that is the closest like approximation. Like Breaking Bad, which I think is like really high up there in terms of here's how you do TV right. And to find that analog in games, puts Spec Ops pretty high up in its own medium as well. Mm-hmm. At least in terms of, the way that it treats morality in a game that has no explicit morality system. Yeah, that is that is a pro click. Dennis, how about you?
I got all my answers ganked, I guess, because it's Spec Ops. The line would be one for me. Yes, Swoopcast. For a different reason, though. I think it's because Spec Ops is such a complete package when you play it all the way through that they say what they want to say so incredibly well that I would not want someone to stop before the end just so that they can get the entire statement. And I agree that there are kind of different points. People get turned the corner, as it were, in different points in the game. Mm-hmm. But as an overall statement, as a whole, I think it's strong enough that it's worth playing all the way through. The other one I was going to say was actually The Walking Dead Season 1. So I haven't played Season 2. I don't have it as a reference. And I think that's the first time that I've heard the game is or the second season is better than the first. Mm-hmm. But I think what The Walking Dead does so revolutionary as a game is not anything to do with its dialogue choices or anything like that, because really when it comes down to it, you're on rails about as much as you are in other quote-unquote open-ended games. Definitely. I don't think there's anything crazy there. I think it's the level to which you are able to invest in and relate to the characters. Mm-hmm. That is what truly made that game special. And that I would want someone to see that all the way through just so they can have its full effect. I'm on record as being absolutely in shambles, crying at the end of that game right before my in-laws showed up. So that was fun. But it was worth the investing in and getting all the way through. Yeah.
Agreed. I'll go ahead and throw mine in. So these are two games that I played around the same time. They came out at around the same time. But Hotline Miami and Little Inferno are both kind of these examples of games that, at their front, they have, kind of like an aesthetic sense that you pretty much grasp right away, and a mechanical sense. In Hotline Miami, it's, this trial and error, order of operations kind of thing. With Little Inferno, it's messing around with these different combinations in order to get more. And these kind of stick out for me as kind of being these first real indie games that did have a turn that felt, either emotionally relevant, resonant. I'm overusing that word today. Sorry. In the case of Little Inferno with its message about the way that we lead our lives, and just kind of cerebrally relevant, like in a David Lynch kind of way, as Hotline Miami is, like revealed itself to be kind of like much smarter and much more experimental than its trappings would kind of let on, and both of those kind of happen around to the end, and so I would encourage anybody who bounced off of either of those to see them through, because once you get there, it kind of justifies what already should have been justified because they're good games, but does what I love in games, which is actually come out and say something. Either narratively or, just morally about life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I know for Hotline Miami, I haven't played Little Inferno, so I can't speak to that. But there's something unique about games that it allows you to not think about the main plot it's making while you get involved in some of the mechanical gameplay. Mm-hmm. And there's something valuable about not thinking about a problem or kind of not consciously processing something that I think games are uniquely suited to create that space.
Yeah.
In a way that movies and other mediums aren't. And I think Hotline Miami uses that really, really well. In that the time where you're thinking about the moment-to-moment order of operations stuff is not time wasted or time just absorbed in gameplay. It's giving you space to really kind of digest in a almost a subconscious level the grander themes that are going on.
Yeah, you spend the entire run kind of focused on sensation or like the immediate. And it is, on a secondary track in your brain that you're not entirely aware of, putting in stuff that is, for lack of a better word, kind of what the fuck. Until there are points where either it brings that to the forefront to shock you, or kind of to pay off on the stuff that you didn't even realize you were processing. The entire time you've been playing it.
Good stuff.
I have another one that I'm kind of curious about that I didn't hear this game. Brothers. I'm confused as to how that didn't end up in there.
I actually thought about that one briefly and totally forgot about that. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. That I think I've said it before on the show. That is an entire game built around one realization as part of a puzzle. That just makes the entire... I mean, it's worth it for a lot of other reasons, but that makes it the entire experience worth it.
Yeah, talk about emotional, man.
Yep.
Yeah, so good. Play Brothers, damn it.
Play, seriously, play. And that's one I can recommend because it's not adding a game to my list of games that I need to play. So,
I was about to say that
box so I could force it on everyone else.
Yeah, it's also like a 3-hour game. Like, I beat it in a night.
That's a great one. Good call, Jala.
Yeah, fantastic. So thank you, everybody, for writing in with your thoughtful responses, as you did. As usual, watch for that question to go live on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thelevelpodcast. Dennis is so kind to put those out on Tuesday afternoons, and you all are so kind as to come out in force.
Yay!
The grind.
Now it is time for The Grind, where we talk about the games we've been playing over the past week or so. Jala, I will once again volunteer you to go first.
Sure. Okay, so first footnote is that I've been being the Sherpa for Resident Evil 6 again, and I've been playing that again to run somebody else through it. But this one is live and in person, meaning that I have a split screen going on, which is actually advantageous for certain areas because I can see where they are at any time. It's kind of cheating, but that's okay. So anyway, that I have nothing to say about that. I'm just doing it again. The other thing that is more important and new and interesting is that I have been playing a story about my uncle. This is a game that I got on Steam sale. It was $3 or $4, something like that. And this is how I usually pick up my indie games. I just find a random thing and go, that looks interesting. Story About My Uncle is a first-person platformer adventure game. And it starts out with narration of a father talking to his daughter and telling her a bedtime story about this adventure he went on one time. And he has an uncle who is an adventurer and has traveled the world and also is a scientist and has made all different kinds of interesting doodads. So you are looking for your uncle. You have no idea where he went. He just kind of disappeared one day, and you end up getting basically sucked off into this whole nother world, and you have this cool suit that he made for you, which allows you to jump and grapple, like jump extra far distances, grapple, have a little rocket booster thing. It's pretty neat, and it's completely non-violent. It's more focused on exploration and just, the platforming stuff in the story than it is anything else, which these are things I like. So overall, it's really a very fun and enjoyable, lighthearted game. I like it quite a bit, and I haven't finished it yet, but I've been playing a lot of it lately. So I definitely recommend it.
What's the tone of the story?
It's mostly just like it's kind of a whimsical, fantastic storyline. You have been sucked into a whole nother world. There's little like frog people that live in this world that, like, when you first enter into this new world from your normal Earth, it is through basically a trash void that your uncle has created that to just, suck the trash up and make it go away. And it turns out that it has been going to this other world, and these frog people have been taking all the trash from our world that has been dumped in this thing and just building a town out of it. So there's all this, refuse that has been turned into a town for these frog people.
The mad scientist must be crazy. Well, of course, it's right in the name.
So anyway, like, they all know your uncle, and one of them, in fact, is like a little girl who she's known your Uncle Fred for all of his life, or all of her life. And so, she ends up going with you for a time to try to find him, and you're just trying to pick up clues and explore areas that he's been in, because he's been here for a while. There's all different kinds of neato airships with, attached to zeppelins and stuff like that, and floating, floating villages and stuff on random, inexplicable rocks flying in the air. And right now I'm in some kind of a neato ice cave, but yeah, it's really just a lot of fun. It's whimsical and fantastic. And like I said, there's no fighting in the game at all. It's just you're looking around, you're jumping around, looking around the world, trying to find your uncle, trying to uncover clues about what all he's been doing when he's been away, because you have no idea about all this stuff.
It has a grappling hook. Confirm, deny.
Yes.
Confirm?
Yes.
It's very important, Jala.
Yes.
I need you to say confirm.
Confirm.
Okay, cool.
Grappling hook is a go. You can grapple when you first start out. You can grapple once, and then after that, because it's basically a grappling beam. At first, your suit will allow you to grapple once before landing, and then later on, it becomes up to 3 times that you can grapple before landing. You also have a super jump, and at this point, I also have a short distant forward momentum, like rocket booster thing. So, but. It's a lot of fun, and I don't really get too frustrated with the platforming, because you just kind of, the screen fades as you fall, and then you just start back wherever the last save point was and go forward. So, and it's not like you have enemies to fight, so it doesn't feel nearly as pressing. So that's important for me, because like the more frustrating a game will get, the less likely I am to actually finish it. So, unless, of course, I happen to be masochistic about that particular game for some reason, like I must really like the story or whatever. But in this case, it's just a lot of fun. It feels really relaxing just because, you don't have a rush. There's no rush in the game whatsoever. And it's just, it feels more expansive than you are actually allowed. Like it looks much larger than the path that you are given to follow. Mm-hmm. And there is a little bit of leeway where you can take a couple of different ways to get through certain areas, but, more or less it's pretty linear. But in this particular case, because it gives you the illusion of it being much more vast, it doesn't bother me so much.
Yeah. Is it as colorful as these screenshots would indicate?
Yes.
Cool.
So that's why I've been enjoying it, and I definitely do intend to finish this game. I don't always finish them, as you know. Like, I'll pick it up and go, oh, that's shiny, and then put it down and move on. That whole thing about, whether or not you can get the essence of the game before the ending. So, but yes,
yeah,
recommend.
I had never heard of this game before, so I'm happy you mentioned it.
That's usually the case. I pick up a lot of really random stuff. So.
Nice. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Oh, cool. Let's see here. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I have. I got a lot of mini things that I've been playing. So I finished 80 Days, and then I played it a second time and finished it again.
Did you finish with a much shorter time?
Yeah. So the first time I finished, I think I was at 103 days.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, it was long.
You should feel bad. You kept those poor socialites waiting, Ben.
Yeah, I know.
So what drove you off course?
I ran out of money. My dude was getting sick, and he had to go to the hospital.
Oh, so it wasn't even like cool exploring story stuff.
It wasn't. Yeah, no. It was just a total bummer. And I think the first half my route was okay, but yeah, it was mostly the second half that I ran into hiccups. And I think mostly it was like money issues and health issues. So that caused like a couple different, 4 or 5 day delays kind of back to back. So that was kind of what did it. Yeah. So ashamed of my record that it was, I played it a second time and then I finished it, I think, in 76 days. So I felt a little bit better about that. The second time through, I did the Trans-Siberian Railway. Nice. So that seemed to go a lot faster, just because I had to make a whole lot less choices about where to stop and for how long and stuff. And then I had a similar second half of the path where I went from Honolulu to the South America route and then over to Africa and then up the west coast of Europe to get back to London. Right. So that was the similar path both times. But the coolest thing, if I can mention one storyline, and I'll try and be vague about it, but there's one point where I had to solve a murder mystery aboard a Zeppelin. It was very Scooby-Doo-esque. It was great.
I loved that. I love that storyline.
Yeah, it was so great. And I like the triggering condition of it. I think if there's only one triggering condition of it, I really like that as well. But yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. And once you get the hang of the game, I think the big breakthrough moment was realizing that you could tap on each of the items at the markets, and they would say specifically, hey, this is valuable here, or like, hey, this is a part of this set, so this could be valuable. Once you get an entire set, does it give you like a perk? Because I only started collecting sets on my second playthrough, and I did the Left of the Law set, and I didn't get it to the very end, but it said that I would be able to kind of navigate policemen better if I, get into trouble with the law.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay.
It does make a difference.
What are some of the other perks then?
Different situations, like different kind of like travel conditions, will wear on you less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or if you have certain garb, moving up a departure date will be free.
Yeah.
Oh,
the English gentleman is the one that does that the best.
I see. I do like how when you are first presented with the choice of paying somebody off to move up the travel time, it says, how ungentlemanly. It's one of my favorite lines of the Nice. But I was kind of disappointed. I didn't have any closure to any of the storylines like you did, Cole.
Oh, yeah?
With I know. Like, I would have a lot of story starts and be like, oh, I'm probably going to see this person later. Never happened.
You were on the Trans-Siberian. Did you meet my Mongolian princess?
I did. Yeah. She talked you up, Cole, the entire time.
That's her.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I met that exact person on the Trans-Siberian, but then I never met the person again. Oh. So, yeah.
You didn't get kicked off the train where I did.
I see. Yeah, I know. I made it to the end of the line at least, but yeah.
I think that sucks for you, Ben, but I almost take that as encouragement, as this game is even less on rails than I thought it was. Like, for a game that I already thought of as very much not on rails, it's even less so in that, hey, like, all these stories that you start aren't guaranteed to be seen through every time.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's even more impressive to me.
Yeah, and going even with my two games going through the same path twice, like there's very little overlap of stories. I think there was maybe one story where it was the same story, but I made different choices, so it turned out completely different. So, yeah.
Jala, have you played that game at all? 80 Days?
No, no, I have not.
Yeah, I don't know. The more I think about it, might be GOTY 2014.
Whoa!
In hindsight, I know that's strong words.
That is huge.
And I know that I often throw that around a lot, but in hindsight, like, it's probably like that and Shovel Knight.
Indie games reign supreme.
Yeah.
I gotta finish Shovel Knight.
I have to start Shovel Knight.
I'm stuck on one of
too.
the bosses.
Yeah, it is fantastic, and they have the new DLC coming out here pretty soon too.
I gotta get on it.
Yeah, it's great. I would recommend powering through. Which boss are you stuck on, Dennis?
I want to say it's the scythe guy.
Ooh, you're pretty close to the beginning then. Wow.
Yeah, it's only like the third boss that I've challenged or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the plague. It's either the
same
scythe.
thing. Same thing.
Okay, it's either the scythe guy or it's the guy who throws beakers.
Oh yeah. Different guys.
The Muppet?
Yeah. Which, if Beaker isn't your favorite Muppet, what are you doing with your life? I'm very sorry to cast judgment on something that arbitrary, but come on.
Yeah, I forget exactly which one it is, but yeah.
Well, I'm happy that you thought enough of 80 Days to go back in and retackle it.
Yeah, it was good. Another mobile game that I started and beat over the past week was Monument Valley, which is another indie game that came out last year. It was quite geometric. I liked it.
Would you call it Escherian?
Yeah, it felt like you were in an Escher painting. And that the only thing I was slightly disappointed by, and this is very inside baseball, when at the end of each level you show like a geometric shape, or you present some sort of geometric shape, and there's like a pattern where you'll have one and then you'll have a modification of the next one. It'll be like a different style, but it'll be a similar shape. But there's 10 levels, and they were going through some of the shapes, and I thought they were going to do the 5 platonic solids, and but each version of it, or like 2 versions of each, but they ended up doing like other random shapes, and so I was slightly disappointed by that. Yeah. But platonic solids are the 5 3-dimensional shapes that are made from regular polygons. So like a cube is one.
Tetrahedron.
It's made up of squares. Yeah.
Dodecahedron. Icosahedron. Yeah.
You could name more of them than I can.
I
know what they look like. I don't know their names.
I only know icosahedron because that is the fancy nerd name for something that is already nerdy, a 20-sided dice.
Ah.
Yeah. Beat me up if you would like to. Hurt me more. Yeah. So did you beat Monument Valley?
I did.
Yeah. I was surprised at how much story was there.
Yeah, it seems similar to like Journey as far as like minimalist storytelling. Mm-hmm. I think halfway through, so I think one beef I have with indie games is I feel like a lot of indie games like mandatorily have to make you feel emotion or make you like want to be upset about something at some point during the game.
Did it feel cloying?
What do you mean?
Just kind of just trying to take advantage of your emotions for the sake of it.
Slightly.
Yeah. I mean, like, it affected me, but I, am a weepy, a weepy man anyway. So
there's one scene in particular that felt like it was very much trying to just pull at your emotions and do nothing else.
Oh, your pillar friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
yeah, I'm the one who spoiled it, not you.
Yeah, right. It was a good game though, nonetheless. Though it's very pretty. It's very relaxing. You could just
It's a great game to sit down and play like in little bursts. Like that came out like last summer, and so like I would get home from work and I would put on the AC in my living room and I would play it while I was waiting for the room to cool off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was like a nice little 15-minute burst kind of thing.
Yeah. And so in getting that game, I found out that Amazon One-Click indeed works. So,
so is that like a negative impact on your life? Are you ordering toilet paper on Amazon like I do?
No, that's the only thing I've ordered that way. But it was like, I wonder what happens when I click it. It's like, you bought this game. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess,
Cool.
guess that was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I've been playing besides those two is XCOM. I'm still doing my Iron Man run through. I'm on the last level, so if I beat that, then I will have beaten the game, and if not, I don't know. I don't know what happens if you lose at that level. I guess you have to restart and rebuild a little bit, but whatever.
High stakes.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool. Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I've been playing 2 games this week. On your recommendation, I got into OlliOlli, and holy shit.
It's so great, isn't
That
it?
game feels so good to play. Have you done any of the daily grind stuff?
No, I've just been working through the main stages.
Okay, yeah, dip into daily grind when you get the chance, because that is a very well executed ongoing content kind of thing or whatever. Basically, there is a level, a little mini level, and it's very short. And you can practice it as much as you like, but you only get one try to get a high score on it for real that you submit. And once you choose like skate for real, there's no going back. There's no starting over. It's what you get is what you get. So even if you've done amazing in practice and you blow that one for real run, that's it for you. But you get a new one every day, so it's really fun. But you weren't kidding about it having almost a rhythm game quality to it when you get into the flow. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely true. And I'm in that really unique stage where I don't quite understand all the mechanics. If that makes any sense. Like I the one thing that I'm trying to get really consistent about doing is tricking when I jump off of rails.
Yeah.
And it feels like sometimes I move my stick in a circle and I'll do a trick coming off of the rail, and other times I will move my stick in a circle and not do a trick coming off of the rail. So I'm not sure exactly what that difference is, except for when I get in the flow, and I don't know how to describe it other than just when I get into the flow of things, I can very consistently trick coming off of rails.
Yeah.
And if I'm not in the flow, I can't do it. If I am, I can. And that's the only difference I can understand between what I'm doing right now. So it's kind of a magical time before I've kind of fully consciously processed what's going right in those instances when I'm on.
But the second you like say, "Oh, cool, I did a perfect manual," that's when you fuck it up.
Yeah. It's like, I've done my first perfect manual. Now I will proceed to do non-perfect manuals or just fall on my face for the next 30 levels.
Yep. It's like looking at a magic eye. The second you think, "Oh, I've almost got it," your eyes immediately stop relaxing, and then just boom, you lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very, very much a purely mechanical game, and it's just feels good to play. There's not much to it other than that.
Yeah.
But that makes it solidly worth it.
Yeah.
That soundtrack, by the way, is also really, really good.
It's really good. Yeah, I got I got OlliOlli 1 on Humble Bundle a while back. I forget when, but that is a soundtrack that has made its way into my rotation for
nice.
Work,
Did you play
stuff.
it with a controller on your PC?
I'm gonna be honest. I only ever played it on the. I only ever played OlliOlli 1 to compare it to OlliOlli 2.
Did you play it with a keyboard or with a controller?
Controller.
Okay. That's because I can't imagine how you would play this game with a mouse and keyboard.
Neither can I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And the other one of note, probably good that Jala is on the show for me to talk about, is I went back to Dungeon Defenders.
Yay!
Yeah, and the first time I played it, I absolutely hated it. I played it by myself, and it just seemed stupid, and I don't know. I didn't like it. So I was doing kind of a deep dive looking for co-op games to play, and that one came up. So I did that couch co-op, and that makes all the difference doing it with a friend.
I told you.
Yeah, no, you were right on. And I think what made it so fun is if you ever see the Calvin and Hobbes comics where they're planning out their snow forts. Just with the impossible, icicle death traps, and here's where we'll have the turrets, and this is where we'll put the West Wing snowball reserve, and all this different stuff. Like, it's that, only you actually get to do it on the screen as you're planning out your traps and your turrets and everything like that. So the actual fighting off the hordes stage of it, because you kind of you go through a building phase, and then you go through a enemy wave phase, and those kind of alternate. the wave phase, even though that's where all the action happens, feels almost secondary to the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It's planning out your base. That's so much fun. It's kind of like, oh, you come over here and put a spike trap down, and then I'll put my turret behind your spike trap, and that'll be really good. And then over here, and just having fun like that. So I went back to it on a whim, and I'm very glad I did. It's really fun co-op.
I have a couple of questions for you. One, have you gotten to a boss yet?
No.
You're going to have fun when you go to a boss. Keep playing. Okay. Keep playing, get to a boss. Second, what classes or character types are you playing?
So I'm playing as the mage, and Jen is playing as the knight.
Okay, cool. Another fun one that you will get into if you get a chance to play it would be the monk. The monk is badass.
It's the scary, monk it tells me that it's like expert level to play.
Oh, no. Like, the monk has auras, but he is very strong with his physical attacks as well. And his auras do some really good buffs, some really awesome buffs for some of the stuff. The knight has some really good turrets and things like that as well. And the mage, of course, mage and knight together work pretty well. The one that I tend to play a lot is actually one of the ones that you have to buy via DLC, the robot lady. I forget what they call her, but I usually play her. She's not the necromancer. She's actually like a robot. I forget what they call her, but she is just like a cyborg, and she has guns, and her turrets are all laser beams and reflecting walls and stuff like that. And she's actually difficult to play, but I play her anyway. So, but nice. the monk is a really good, fun one to play. He can do a lot of damage, but the knight and the mage also has some really good stuff. But yeah, definitely keep playing until you get to a boss. Bosses are fun. How do you feel about the have you gotten to a level where you've got the higher level enemies like the trolls and stuff who have just like HP sinks that you have to kill them, and they have like 20,000 hit points?
So we've only played the first arena. We've played it all the way through. Okay. So I don't know how much the trolls. We definitely encountered tougher enemies in that. I don't know if that quite meets what you're describing. We did play long enough to realize that it's a really bad idea to trap the trolls in that kind of area right outside the door, because they're invincible until they get far enough away from the door.
Yep. You have
that was a bad idea.
Yeah, I've actually never had the opportunity to have enough people on my team to play some of the larger battlefields, because there are some where you have to have, they recommend like a minimum of, 8 players or something like that for certain maps. And I'd prefer to know the people that I'm playing with for those, but I've only ever played with 4 people at a time. So.
Yeah, because the fun is bumbling around and building your snow fort.
Yeah, but definitely you'll know what I'm talking about when you get to it, because when you get a high-powered enemy, it literally will tell you on the screen, here comes a blah, 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 blah. And then, those things are basically unstoppable, and whoever it is, I don't care what they're doing, they have to rush and go help. You need it. It will just wreck your shit.
Nice. I can't wait.
And the bosses also employ different types of strategies as well, because you have hordes and bosses at the same time. So have fun with that.
Good stuff.
This is a tower defense game, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, kind of tower defense, only your avatar that you're using to set this up is also a very powerful offensive.
Yeah.
So it's tower defense meets sacrifice?
I think so, yeah. From what I've heard of sacrifice, yes.
Yeah. Cool.
It's kind of like playing, if anybody's played Sanctum, it's kind of like that too, where it's tower defense. That one's more tower defense and FPS mix over, but something similar to that, except it's 3/4 view from behind, character. So
little Pikmin-esque too.
Don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not a reference for me.
I'm just trying to understand you guys. And this is a PlayStation or just Mac?
I think it's everything. I played it on PlayStation.
Everything.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's everything. I think you can get it pretty much anywhere. I have it on Steam. So.
And it is different from Dungeon Keeper.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is it different from Trapped?
I don't know.
Is it different from Tecmo's Deception? Guys, I'm just going to keep throwing these things at you.
I will just
keep
say
on
yes.
saying no.
A blanket.
And,
I will just say a
be maybe
blanket
wrong.
yes.
Okay. It's a riddle. One says only yes, the other says only no.
Both have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Exactly.
Both have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Give yourself some credit.
Fair enough.
Huh? Anything else, Dennis?
No, those are my games.
Cool. I'm going to go ahead and fire off mine. I'm happy that you mentioned OlliOlli, so I don't have to throw in on that. Been enjoying that with my Vita here in the odd moments. More Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. Not so much to say about the content of that game. I would like to say that I upgraded my 3DS to the new 3DS XL.
Aha, nice.
Which is an appreciable upgrade. Like, I had set my mind on doing that because my 3DS XL's, yes, there we go, my 3DS XL's battery life was getting unacceptable. And it is an improvement in pretty much every regard. Like, the quality of the 3D is such that I can actually turn it on now and appreciate it. It's actually really cool. Like, I feel like
is it
good.
Literally higher quality?
So what it does is the problem with the kind of first generation non-fortified 3D on a 3DS, before was that you kind of had to keep your eyes in a fixed position in order to actually like see in order to get the effect. And if you deviated from that like by even a small margin, what you would get is this kind of like streaky rainbow half ghost version of the image, which actually I think contributed a lot to the eye strain that goes along with it. You could mitigate this by kind of reducing the depth of the 3D effect, kind of the intensity of it. Mm-hmm. But it was still kind of a compromised experience. Whereas this new version has some kind of voodoo that happens with the front-facing camera and some kind of motion sensor that actually tracks where your eyes and mouth are in order to recognize like where your face is and what angle it's looking at. And you can even see like as you either turn or rotate the 3DS or your head and move it around, it's like kind of moving it subtly to keep track with you. So it is less like, here is a horrible monstrosity that you're trying to stare at, and 95% of the time it's not going to look good. And it is making an effort. The system is making an effort to make this effect look good for you and not be something that kind of like just shreds through your eye muscles with a reckless disregard for the fact that you have that you are made of meat that can tire.
Come on, computer, you're not even trying.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, it's weird to say, like, oh, the computer expends effort to do this, but it's kind of cute how it, like, tries to catch up with you and track you, Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And even without that, the screen quality is good. In a comparison, like, I did the transfer dance to get the, to move everything over. And you have to have both of your 3DSs open at the same time. And the new screen is substantially more colorful, less washed out, kind of more defined and crisp. I don't know if that's something that changes over time, like LCD screens do. But my 3DS XL, like my old one, is not that old. So I think that is a qualitative improvement. Between the two, time will tell if the battery life is better. It's advertised as being better, and like something strange happened today. I got like a full day of charge off of it, which is nice. Yeah. So it used to be you would just close your 3DS and just over the course of being in rest mode, it would just drain on you, and you would have to keep it plugged in all the time. That does not appear to be the case. Even when my old 3DS was brand new, it had that problem, whereas this one seems to hold the charge quite nicely.
When you said transfer dance, I just imagined you doing something similar to a rain dance.
It's a little scary, like popping the back off of that the new 3DS in order to get the micro SD card into it or whatever. Because like I got a new one, like a bigger one, so I was like, I don't ever want to have to worry about the amount of space that I have available for this. And SD cards are really cheap, but that is a harrowing experience trying to pop the back off of that thing. So it is like a dance insofar as it requires you to be very comfortable with things you otherwise would not be comfortable with.
I'm glad you survived.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't break this piece of hardware.
Me too.
Yeah. So that's just a little bit of, incidental kind of stuff leading up to the thing I want to talk about, which is Hotline Miami 2.
Ah, nice.
Wrong number. Which this is a joke I'm stealing from somebody who I cannot remember, but they should have called it Hotline Miami 3 wrong number. But oh well, but time makes fools of us all. It's really good. I like it a lot. I put about 2 hours into it today, which is a lot of time for me to put into a game in a single day. I'm really excited about it. I had not followed any of the kind of pre-release information about it. I just kind of wanted to go into it fresh, and that has rewarded me with even keeping in mind that there is a lot of very ugly stuff that it puts forward. I don't even quite know where to begin with how to talk about this, because in terms of the gameplay, like the actual like moment to moment experience, it hasn't changed appreciably. Right, you are still, if you're playing it on a mouse and keyboard, doing these very quick motions and trying to optimize your runs through these, kind of like semi-persistent / semi-randomized rooms of, these thugs with these AI, with various AI quirks in order to clear as many as possible. In order to clear this room out without dying yourself. You're still very fragile. You still have these mass or special abilities that help you navigate certain circumstances. Where it differs a little bit is in kind of the variety of situations that it'll put in front of you, and in the size of the stages that you're supposed to tackle. So. Hotline Miami 1, as you unlocked these masks, you could put on any mask at any time, right? And it was up to you to kind of play around and figure out which one was going to work best for any given situation. But what ended up happening was you would find the mask that worked best for you, and you wouldn't really explore. It's kind of the Bioshock Infinite problem, or the Bioshock problem, even, where you find the plasmid that works great for you, and then you just kind of settle on it. Mm-hmm. This is more aggressive about changing up the characters. In fact, it goes from having 2 playable characters up to 9.
That's kind of a big deal.
Is it optionally 9, or you will get to 9 playable characters?
You will get to 9, and different levels are designed around their different limitations. Now, each of them feel empowering, which is good, and they have different things, and you're playing a different character at different stages in the story depending on what it wants to show you, and they all have their own different points of views, and in fact they take place they take place in different decades sometimes even. But there's one that is he abhors lethal attacks. So if you try to get him to pick up a gun, he'll throw it down. But if you try to do a finishing move, he can't stop just pummeling their head into the ground. There are some that are just kind of you have different flavors of kind of the same mask. There's one set of characters that is technically one character, but it's 5 in 1. Where it's a group of fans, these people who are trying to mimic the hero from the first game, and that is kind of more akin to the variety that it presented to you in the first game. But it's with that breadth of options, it accomplishes 2 things. It fractures the narrative even more in a really interesting way that I'm excited to see how it pans out. Because this is kind of like leaning more into a David Lynch style thing, where it is again fractured, it is surreal, it is telling things out of order in a way that puts a lot of the onus on you to figure out what the through line is. but it restricts the amount of options that you have available to you in a given period of time, in a given stage, right? So it's more designed, it's a little bit more hand-holdy, which gets a little bit tricky because of the size of the different stages, right? So Hotline Miami 1, you had these very short these very short scenarios that it was running you through, very like tight checkpoints. It was a couple of rooms that you had to clear. Whereas this one, I'm a little bit put off by how big the areas are, which requires you to be more cautious as you approach these things, right? So as you're going around, even just killing that last guy possibly means that you have to, clear the entire stage again if he kills you. It seems like the stakes for failure are a lot higher, which kind of reduces, my willingness to be as reckless as I was in the first game. And, in a game that is about being as outrageously violent as possible, encouraging you to be more methodical kind of seems to be to run counter to what they're trying to say with this admittedly off-putting and over-the-top amount of violence that it's putting you, like forcing you to commit. Yeah. So that's it. That's only 2 hours in, and I could get used to it. It could just be that I'm bad at the game from not having played Hotline Miami 1 in a long time. It kind of picks up in a spot that assumes you have retained all of your skills from Hotline Miami 1, and I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah. So
is it story wise dependent on Hotline Miami 1?
I would say yes.
I guess there's the fans.
I would say yes. I think that your understanding of like what's going on is going to be greatly helped if you have not just played Hotline Miami 1, but actually have seen the real ending of the game. And kind of understand what the meta plot is beyond just kind of what the unreliable narrators have told you. If that makes any sense. So it is definitely still continuing with the unreliable narrator thing. The through line is the events of Hotline Miami 1, I think. Like everything is kind of like pinned to that, and kind of this dynamic between the Russian mob and stuff like that. But I think that it is kind of continuing to expound upon and complicate it in a way that is really satisfying, if not, narratively or from a plot standpoint, but kind of emotionally or from a thematic standpoint, if that makes any sense. Insofar as it has been very successful at getting me to consider, the different kinds of violence that I'm inflicting, at different stages. Like when I talked about that guy who, he's a writer. He's, trying to write a story about, these mass killings that are, continuing in the wake of, the events of the first game. Like the stage that I played with him was actually the most upsetting because, he only ever kills people, or takes people down with like baseball bats and golf clubs. And for any other character, like the enemies would just turn into, exploded sacks of blood, which is disturbing in its own right, but is on some level far less disturbing than what this guy leaves in his wake, which is mangled people that are writhing and obviously still alive, but not dead or out of their misery. It's kind of like Batman. I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to cripple you for life.
Yeah.
And so, and
yeah, but they don't have animations of writhing in pain after the cutscene,
right? Yeah, but it is upsetting, and it's like, oh, you drew that line in a different place, and nobody comes out of this clean, but somehow the way you did it still comes off as fucked up, even though you had good intentions.
So I'm curious, and you haven't finished the game, so maybe it's impossible to say. I'm trying to remember back to the first game as well. Is there anything that you feel like you're gleaning from it, other than there are a lot of different ways to be shitty to someone?
Not so much. It's hard to it's hard to say. Like, in a lot of senses, it could come across as like a think about it. kind of thing. I think that it skates by on style, which does count for something. And I would say that if there is a statement to be made, it is kind of that think about it kind of thing, which is okay. This is all something that we appreciate on two different levels. This hyper stylized, just kind of desensitized version of it that we all kind of experience as we play these different games. And then there's kind of the moments of reality that kind of like spike through and make you question your complacency at looking at all of this, right? Which I should be turned off by, but I'm not, because the graphics and the music, like, the music succeeds because it is possibly some of the best music I've heard in games. And the visuals kind of succeed because they are so otherworldly and dreamlike and off-putting. Right, like they work because they are so gross and hard to look at.
Yeah. Well, it still retains its pixel art style, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So as we're talking about, this is like 16-bit at best.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I dig it so far. I wish that the levels were shorter. I wish that it was more kind of like rapidly paced. My opinion on that may change as stuff kind of like pans out, but I'm very excited about what I've seen in terms of this, not just an unreliable narrator, but a whole bevy of them that you're seeing. Like this, it feels like like a Mulholland Drive kind of thing, where we're looking into a bunch of different people's lives and getting very different pictures of the reality based on the the individual ways that they're kind of messed up. Yeah,
cool.
It's like a schizophrenic quilt.
Yeah, kind of.
Title.
Right? That's it.
Yeah. But man, it is one of those games, like I forgot that it was coming out until like a week ago when I pre-ordered it. And that is one of the quickest like, but yeah, I guess that's coming out too. I'm very hyped to beat this entire thing that I think I've been through in a long time. So
nice.
Yeah. And that's my big one.
Do you have smaller ones?
No, I led with them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you guys want to button it up?
Do it.
Before we do that, I have a survey we should talk about.
You have a what? I'm sorry?
Survey.
I have a survey we should talk about.
Feng Shui
yeah.
reckoning.
The feng shui. Oh man! So I haven't looked at this. I kind of forgot that it was a thing. Let me dig this up here as you introduce the premise.
Sure. So last week we talked about the best way to pronounce or mispronounce feng shui. And so we put it to the masses, and you guys turned out in force to answer the question. And I'm intentionally calling it the Feng Shui survey because that was overwhelmingly the quote-unquote right answer. Feng Shui had 75%. Feng Shui had 5%. Feng Shui had 10%. And then Feng Shui had 10% as well.
Feng shui.
So
I think that my pronunciation of feng shui is not represented, because there's it lets the kind of ride a little bit more, but
kind of waver a bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how to represent that grammatically, but we had some good write-in answers as well. So other suggestions for how to pronounce feng shui included feng shui, poop.
I like you, whoever wrote poop.
Feng shui, feng shui, fucking shoe. And Feng Shui and the Great Space Kablooey.
Nice.
I would watch that Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Okay, yeah, I forgot about this. Thank you.
Yeah, well, and thank you to everyone who responded. So yeah, that is Feng Shui is apparently the right way to say it.
Yep. Which I knew that. in all fairness. Oh, but thank you everybody for responding. to that.
A quarter of people liked our alternate pronunciations better, so I'm gonna take heart in that.
Fang Shui.
We're better
Not
than the
saying that they
English
thought they were more
language.
correct. Yeah. No. Go to the Wikipedia page and actually click on the verbal pronunciations, like the little audio clips. Feng Shui, Fang Shui, and Feng Shui are all like in there. Like there's 3 different pronunciations. Go listen to it.
I will take your word.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Oh, I've also been asked, just as a random aside, Kole, I've been asked to have you clarify your stance on either wheeling or dealing. Which one do you prefer, once and for all? Don't ask why.
What is this related to?
Pick a
Probably
side.
the alcohol I've consumed tonight.
Wheeling and or dealing. You know,
I need you to come down on one side or the other, once and for all.
I think I'm more in favor of dealing because wheeling, I think that implies a certain amount of social prowess that I don't have. Yeah, I think that I would much rather get down to brass tacks, nuts, and bolts.
All right, good. No, that is satisfactory.
Like, is there precedent for this? I don't. Does this stem?
Troll Twitter enough, and you might find the answer.
The credit.
So that was episode number 97. Wow, you guys, we're getting close. We are getting close.
I'm gonna feel very sad if I'm not on episode 100.
Let's let's work on that. Let's make sure that we get everybody represented here.
I was about to say let's make that a 5-way, but that phrasing probably does not belong.
Oh, you mean spaghetti, chili, cheese, onions, and sadness?
But who would be the mustard? Who would be the
Oh,
mustard?
mustard? Is that the 5 in that?
That's one of the
maybe.
5.
Fuck this city, Jesus.
Oh, come now.
Sorry.
Someone has got to be the mustard.
Someone is. I'm sorry. Cincinnati has done horrible things. So I say this as somebody who eats chili on a regular basis. In fact, today, because my family was in town this weekend, I was not able to go grocery shopping. I have no fresh food, but I always have emergency chili in the freezer.
Nice.
You know, emergency chili reserves, which is actual chili that has like cut up vegetables and shit in it, like peppers and tomatoes and things.
Do you keep it next to your strategic Fandango reserves?
Please, I keep that in a place where anybody who was trying to search for it would not find it. And as they were searching for it and they were not finding it, it would be ready to attack.
Yes.
With naught but the telltale shaking of maracas to warn of their impending doom. Anyway, yeah, wow, mustard on chili. God damn it. Moving on. I have a code to give away. In fact, I have a bunch of codes to give away here on the road to 100. Let's say if you are listening to this and you want a PC copy of Tomb Raider and the Guardian of Light, then you should tweet out something that you would. Okay, tweet out. I am happy there are 100 levels. As I am happy as I am as happy with 100 levels as I would be happy with 100 blanks, and then hashtag Kolo think about it, hashtag the level podcast, and you'll get this first one. We'll get it. I will try to respond quicker than I did with the previous ones because things are a little bit less busy for the time being. But yeah, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, and the Guardian of Light. I've got that courtesy of one Allison Baker, who was generous enough to provide that code as a giveaway. Thank you, Allison.
Yay,
Allison also did
Allison.
our profile art for the Facebook page. So
Yes,
check her out.
yep.
She does some
Good.
awesome stuff.
She's contributing more to the podcast than most of the co-hosts now.
She is a great supporter of the network, so we really appreciate all of her input and effort. Yeah, I think that's just about it. You guys know the usual stuff. We got a couple of nice reviews here on iTunes here recently, but you know what? We could always use more, especially as we run up to 100, those milestones. Yeah, so those ratings, reviews, it just takes a minute, and it does make a huge difference for us in the ratings. And as we mentioned earlier, we have the Facebook group as well, and I think that's just about it. other than telling friends and just continuing to stick around and participate.
Continuing to be awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the level, I have been Kole Ross at Kole Ross on Twitter.
I've been Dennis Furia at DFuria on Twitter.
I am always Jala-chan at, on, around, in, through Twitter.
And I've been Ben Merkel, just at Merkelizer.
Have you tweeted recently?
Maybe. Yeah.
He tweeted around one of our little goof offs, I think.
Yeah, I did that
back here. Let me see here. I'm going to remind people of how long it has been. Oh wow!
Oh,
You tweeted as recently as February, which I did not catch.
I made a computer science joke.
Yeah, computer science joke of the day. Why did the protected variable go to jail? Because it exposes itself to children.
And a few people laughed at that.
Did you delete the weird like desserts, like the food puns based around wrestlers?
I didn't, but I just hashtagged it, and so it didn't stick around.
Oh man,
I don't know.
Womp.
Were they because so you just go to tweets and replies.
Oh yeah, your Sting Pops and your Prawn Michaels and whatnot. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure the hashtag Supper Slam that we were holding back in October. My, how time flies. So we've all said our names in our Twitter shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. The mad scientist must be crazy.